For those of you who'd like access to this content, follow the link in the description box, visit our Patreon page, and subscribe to the Black Kluge tier. For a mere $5 a month, you get access to the alternate Sunday episodes you've been missing, only available on Patreon, as well as the weekly Tuesday episodes. But wait, there's more. If you subscribe to the Black Kluge tier, you'll also get 2 weeks advance notice to our Thursday sessions. And if you needed any more incentive, when we have bonus episodes, Patreon is the place where you're going to find them. Also, don't forget to check out Teepublic for our great swag. The link is also in the aforementioned description.
And I like
vomit.
No, I like those bands.
So it's a projection thing.
Ralph is.
Now I get it. So you actually listen to this stuff.
Whatever is big. That is really what you're into.
Yeah, he's the Casey Kasem of this show.
You're into whatever's big.
I realize now. The only reason you would think that of me.
So he's like, this is a perfect example of this whole clip is him projecting onto Gary what he knows to be true about himself.
Well, yeah. And then at some point, doesn't he say, so it's like, well, if you know so much about music, how come you don't play guitar? Well, he doesn't play guitar. I play guitar probably about as good as him, and I can't play for shit. But it's
he took some lessons, but he never really learned how to play. And what they teach you about narcissists is that narcissism is that they have a hard time focusing on anything, and certainly can't be bothered to learn lessons.
No, I said it's like all his hobbies. He can't focus on it long enough.
Nope.
Yeah, that's right.
Where else would you get the idea?
From looking at you.
From looking at me?
Yeah.
How has he changed, Gary?
What do you mean, how has he changed? I just said he was this nerdy guy.
Nerdy?
32, 33, 34 years old.
Why was I nerdy?
Look at that press photo from NBC.
You think that's a lot better looking than you are?
It's not about me. Wait a second. Hold on. Don't put it on me. It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about who you were and who you are now.
No.
Bowie's absolutely correct.
Exactly. No, Bowie, Bowie's like an average looking guy, but Wiggy was a dork. Mm-hmm. He was just an out-and-out dork with the big, the goofy mustache, and he just, no chin, and he was just ridiculous looking.
Well, the photo Bowie's talking about is that infamous photo of Howard against the console, looking up. He's sort of sitting up, and he's got a bit of a belly there, but not too bad. But he's clearly a little pudgier, that's for sure. He's got that mustache and that dorky whatever system he had on, because he admitted, I think, on one of the early morning shows there, and I've got the audio. It's he was wearing a weave, so that's what it was back then, and he thought that was cool. And I'm sure it was all a matter of like, what does Allison think? Until he decided, well, I got to get someone else to tell me what to do because it's not working. But because he was a dork, I think that's exactly that probably was the one time he was being authentic.
Well, that was the real him at that point. But that's, like I said, with the misdirection, that was the reason why he had to latch on to Bowie looking like a monkey to throw the people off of him being a goofball.
Yep.
Well, Benji, Benji's fat. This, everybody's something else. This person's that or whatever, just so he could, throw somebody at one point. I think it might have been on Radio Karate that said it was like the Warriors. It's like the Warriors did it. It was like a misdirection, and that's what it is with Wiggy about everything. It's like I discovered this. I was the one that came up with this. And if he says it enough, people will believe it.
Well, and they did, because especially in the early days when, of course, no one could play the real audio back to, the Steve Dahl Show or Mark and Brian or whoever else came up with something like Butt Bongo Fiesta was a ripoff.
Yeah, I believed it. I mean, there was no reason at that point not to believe it. I think I started not believing some of the stuff, and part of it was his own fault with the history of Howard Stern. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is we had one of the guys that was his station manager or something in New York when he was at WNBC ended up having a radio show in Boston on RKO, and I used to listen to him on the drive to work, and I remember him saying that he was that he was one of Howard's managers, and that Private Parts was kind of a fairy tale and none of that was really real. And he said, he didn't really even badmouth Howard. He just said that he was just over dramatic, and that the stuff that that he was all beaten up at that station and all that just wasn't true. It was just the station was going in another direction.
Well, so much of it was bullshit. Like the time when he was at Briarcliff Manor, but that's the first gig in the show in the movie, and then he's playing the Ramones. Like he would have thrown the Ramones off. He played like Seals and Crofts and that kind of shit back then. It wasn't, but it can't. It doesn't look good in the rock and roll current era of Howard, even though they stop at 1985, which makes zero sense.
But I think that was, we all fell for it. Like I said, this show's like Alcoholics Anonymous for people like us, but that were big fans. And but yeah, that was the first seeds of it. It was like, well, wait a minute, this guy is saying that it's like not real and it's over dramatic, and so that kind of got me listening. And then when you heard some of the stuff back on the history of Howard Stern, it kind of contradicted a lot of the stuff that was in Private Parts and the stuff that he said over the years. He can't get his own story straight is the bottom line. He's
too stupid to be a good liar, because the best liars, include a bit of truth in it, but also they can remember what they've said in the lie.
Right.
I wanted to ask you a question about that because I just brought up Private Parts and it occurred to me they did stop officially in the movie at the end, that stupid bullshit concert in the park with AC/DC, where they had to digitize extras to put him in to make it look fuller. That was funny. At the height of his power, they couldn't fill out whatever they needed with extras and probably couldn't afford to pay all those extras. That's why. They stop at 85. Do you think that's because deep down inside they figured, well, if the movie's a success, we can tell the story going forward from 1985 ahead to present day?
I think they were probably banking on like a Miss America, like the sequel, and then the movie didn't. The movie kind of didn't do much, and I don't know. I don't think I've ever talked about what I thought about the movie, but I went to see it on the opening night with my best friend, and which was fun because it was all Stern fans. And
sure.
People were like went nuts and stuff. And then, but I remember sitting there and I'm like, well, that's it, and then the two of us kind of walked out. They said, yeah, it was okay. And then I went to see it with my ex-wife, and she really liked it, but she wasn't a Stern fan. That's when she started coming around. So it's on some level, it did do what they wanted it to do. It got her listening to the show. Because before that, my ex-wife was like really, like real far left. She worked for like women's rights groups, and she was a victim advocate and stuff like that. Still is, and she's the real deal. But she ended up liking the show, and now it's like if she never in a million years if she talked to me now would she think that I hate this guy as much as I do, because it was the opposite before. And some of the stuff she pointed out, some of the stuff. Like to me that, and she was absolutely right, back then. But then I was like, nah, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. He doesn't really mean it. It's just, and then I think she kind of believed that it was just a joke. And then the other thing that was odd, there was a guy, my uncle told me this, and my and a really good friend of mine. And I don't know if
you told me this.
Yeah, I don't know if I've told this on the show, but I had a friend that he was about maybe 15 years older than me, and he's probably Wiggy's age, and he actually is my friend that died of COVID. He was like when that first hit. And he used to say to me, like, he'd listen to the show and he's like, is Howard gay? I'm like, Howard's not gay. And he's like, I don't know. And he picked up on it. And then my uncle was a Ron Bennington fan. He listened to Ron and Ron. And I said, oh, do you listen to Howard Stern? He's like, no, I can't stand him. He's hard. And everything that he said was what I believe about Wiggy now. And he's like, oh, he's full of shit. He's, he said some racist, oh, he's a cheap Jew, and, all that kind of stuff that I don't get into that. But he's cheap, but doesn't have anything to do with his religion or race. Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't go for that. But the other things he said were right. And the two of them were the same age. But the one that really kills me, if Henry Mann, if he was alive today, I tell you, man, you really hit on something. But yeah, he said to me, is he gay? And I'm like, Howard? I'm like, hell no.
He was ahead of the curve.
Yeah. I don't know if it's because they were the same age and he picked up on stuff, or I don't know.
I said this earlier on a more recent episode. Do you know that Gay Ramone has a Twitter page?
No. No, I didn't know.
And I looked it up, and he's doing some kind of like finance work now, I guess. But it does say, formerly Gay Rich, on the Howard Stern show. And I think if I knew more about that era, I think he'd be a great interview.
Gay Rich or Gay Ramone?
Gay Rich, not Gay Ramone.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And I think, but the problem is, I don't think I don't think he'd be honest if he thought that Howard was gay.
Yeah,
and he might not be. He might not be enough. He might not be like in. He might not have been in enough to see what went on where that was concerned.
I don't know, but can't they spot each other and stuff? I don't know. I don't know.
Gator.
Yeah. Well, Sam says that she can kind of tell, right? I don't know. She.
But then she couldn't for years. Like she was she convinced herself. No, it didn't hit her until like way later.
Or maybe it was her gay friend kind of tipped her off to stuff over the years.
Maybe. Anyway, so we'll continue, but before we do that, there was one thing you touched on something, and I wanted to get your commentary on it. But I'll if I can remember, we'll go back into it.
I had long hair. I cut my hair to get a job in radio, and then when I saw that it didn't matter anymore to have short hair, I grew my hair back again.
You cut your hair like that, and you look like that because you thought you did it to get the job?
Absolutely. Did you read my first book?
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't read that?
So the whole time, right from DC 101 up to DC,
that's exactly
and
it.
You never decided
and
to
I questioned it after a while, and I said, why am I doing this?
Why is he doing it? He said to himself, and he let his hair grow again.
Okay.
You're so bizarre.
I am.
And look who's talking. Who doesn't do everything I do?
I don't do. Then why is my hair short? Who had earrings way before you?
Because now you got old.